Hi, Diala.
Hi.
Please go ahead and start. We're just gonna start
Hi, Dr. Keith.
filming as we go, please. سمعتني محمد؟
سوري دكتور صليبة.
ايه خلاص انا problem. Please go ahead.
Hello everyone. Welcome
Hi.
to part
Hello.
of our Environment Academy webinar series. 2 weeks ago, we had the first webinar introducing 5 of the 10 qualified teams. And today we continue with the other 5 teams. During the last webinar, we had an amazing audience, mostly from the diaspora, dialing in from various countries. Today we have returning audience, but also many new ones. So welcome everyone. With all the environmental challenges facing Lebanon, putting our friends and families' lives in danger every day, having such initiatives like the Environment Academy, which is creating an amazing bond between the community in Lebanon and the diaspora, brings us all some hope that with all our consolidated efforts to build a better Lebanon, things will eventually get better. AUB NCC and Impact Lebanon started a unique collaboration on this Environment Academy with MTV صار الوقت and as well as مغتربين مجتمعين back in January, following Dr. Saliba's visit as one of our panelists to the Solid Waste Management Seminar. Since then, we have formed an international team with diverse expertise, all volunteers, by the way. From the UK, we had around 12 reviewers who have volunteered to review and grade the applications received from the local teams, and who have helped in putting together a fair and transparent process to ensure that the top 10 projects are qualified to the mentorship stage. 5 of our reviewers continued as mentors, and they are, of course, currently working very closely with AUB NCC and the local teams in order to develop and implement a process for feasible solution to the pressing environmental problems in their areas. We have with us today Dr. Najat Saliba and Sami from AUB NCC. We also have Dr. Rita from the US, and the 5 teams with their mentors, Abba, Berjain, Ashrafiye, Ain al-Kharroubi, and Tibiet. We will be introducing our mentors before each team's turn. Now we will start with my co-moderator for today, Dr. Rita Tame. Rita, thank you for joining us today as well. Glad to have you here. Rita is a founding member of the Environment Academy and the coordinator for the US and Canadian teams. She is a cancer research fellow at the Translational Hematology and Oncology Research Department at the Cleveland Clinic Foundation in the US. She holds a PhD in molecular medicine from the Cleveland Clinic and specializes in anti-cancer drug development for hematologic diseases, pancreatic and lung cancers. Her work as a master's student at AUB and especially the Nature Conservation Center under the mentorship of Dr. Najat Saliba and Dr. Nadine Darwish helped identify the anti-cancer potential of plants endemic to the Lebanese region and promoted the conservation of these plants. Rita is also the president of the Northeast Ohio chapter of the Worldwide Alumni Association of the AUB and an active member of the activist group مغتربين مجتمعين. She is also the recipient of several national US awards, including the Pompous Award for Young Investigators in Basic Science, the Lenore Cola Award for Community Service, and the Excellence in Leadership Award for the Case Western Reserve University. Thank you all for joining. Rita, the floor is yours now.
Thank you so much, Muhammad. This was a very kind introduction. And I also prepared a small introduction on you. So as you know, Muhammad and I will be co-moderating this session as we did for the first webinar. And Muhammad is a founding member of the Environment Academy and the coordinator for the UK team. He's a co-founder at Impact Lebanon and the vice president at a leading UK events and training provider for the energy infrastructure industries based in London, responsible for building and managing key relationships with governments and major corporate companies across the Middle East and Africa. Muhammad has worked with different countries such as Gabon, Uganda, Algeria, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, and Iraq, amongst others, and has a good knowledge and understanding of the international energy industry, as well as government and private sector hierarchies, holding a bachelor's in science degree in environmental health from AUB in Beirut and a master's in science degree in sustainable environment development from London.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Muhammad.
Now we're going to start with the webinar. I will continue with you, of course, Rita, because Sami will be starting, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. So as you know by now, I think everybody knows Sami. He's worked with all of us and we're really blessed to have him on board. He is focused on the transdisciplinary approaches to developing and applying science and technology with and for the communities. He is the head of the founding committee for the Environment Academy, and he holds a bachelor's in science in environmental hydrology and a bachelor's in science in society and environment from the University of California, Berkeley, where he conducted honorary research on hydroecological responses to changing land use and climate disruption. Without any further ado, I'm going to leave the floor for Sami to give us a small introduction about the Environment Academy. Thank you, Sami.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Muhammad, for the wonderful introductions. So happy to be with everyone. I'm going to share my screen so we can introduce you to the Environment Academy. Okay. I hope you can see it. Loading. All right. So welcome again to the second webinar that we're holding for the Environment Academy. Here we're going to be talking about 5 teams, and I'll let them introduce themselves, but I'll give you a little bit of background on how we got to where we are. So the Environment Academy is really a response to the many pressing environmental threats faced by villages and urban areas in Lebanon. We don't necessarily need to tell them to you. I think you live through them for those of you that are in the country or visit every summer. And this is us trying to bring together local community teams and diverse experts to co-create solutions to those many pressing environmental threats. And I think what's particular is that we're working here at the community scale, and we're also working with MTV and Sar al-Waqt, which has been, you know, a great experience in how we can bring publicity and create a larger pool of those working with us to do collective action on these issues that we're working with. So just the agenda for today, we're gonna go through the components, stages, timelines of EA and the current status. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about the connection to the current global crisis of COVID-19, hear from Dr. Saliba, and then we'll get into our 5 teams for today, which will be Abba, Burjain, Ashrafiyya, Ain al-Kharroubi, and Tibyet. And we'll end with a question and answer session. And of course, we want to hear from everyone. When we get to this session, if you could please just put at Abba or at Burjain if you have a question specific to this team and for the other ones. And if you have a question generally about Environment Academy, you can just put at EA and then ask your question. So the components, we are, as these moderators, we're all part of the strategic planning committee, but we're not all, you know, currently moderating. We also have within it people from Mukhtarbin Mujtama'in, Impact Lebanon. Also, aside from Muhammad, there's other people that are helping in the implementation committee, the Lebanese Australian Foundation, and of course MTV through Sar al-Waqt, and Beyond, who's a wonderful digital marketing firm that's working with us on communication. Our mentors are coming from 3 places primarily: United States, United Kingdom, and Lebanon. And we have 10 projects, as we've mentioned. And again, the implementation committee is helping field work that all of these teams require, and the mentors may want a field hand, since they're not all of them in the country. And of course, the communication around EA, they're supporting with that too. So our stages, I'll just go through a couple of the main ones. We asked teams to form a local village. We asked villages to form a local team with at least 1/3 females, and also people that actually live at the area. We want people that have been, dealing with these issues, because we think that they have the grit required to tackle these issues, even in small steps. And then we're working on co-design. And this is bringing together not only the mentor that's specific to each team, but also a body of experts that can lend a hand as need be. And then we're moving on to presenting the projects on TV. This has already happened on a couple occasions. And from that, we selected 10 of the initial 30 teams that applied to put into effect an action plan. And this is really where we're at now. We're looking to solicit funding for the projects. And if that's something of interest, we'll back us up, link for that. And putting into effect the action plan that the mentors have been working to develop with the teams. So this all started back in December of 2019. And, it's been a roller coaster, as you'd imagine. We're working so hard with such a wonderful group of people from Lebanon and all over the world. And it's been really heartwarming to see what we're able to do, even amidst this economic crisis that the country is going through, environmental crisis, of course, and the COVID-19 as kind of encapsulating all of that now. So we've really been able to do quite a bit, and we're now looking to present the solutions on TV and really dive into the crowdfunding. Hopefully soon, we'll see when the country really starts to open up. And we're going to do this all again. I mean, the Environment Academy, we're trying to bring this into a life of its own and have a phase 2 of it next year. So for those of you who are watching who might have a project in mind and you're from one of these villages in Lebanon or an urban area, keep your eye out for that towards the end of the year. So as we've mentioned, even within COVID-19, we have 10 projects, and just a quick snapshot on each one of them. We have a community green space coming up in Ashrafiyeh, composting facility in Salata, 2 recycling programs in public schools in both Abba and Riyadh al-Salah, a fire restoration initiative in Mazra'at Yashua, small-scale decontamination solution in Ain al-Kharrouba, and a large-scale one for Damour, which is a considerably larger village, a revitalization of Kharroub in Burjain, and the recycling program for Fanar, and last, a solid waste management plan for Tibet. So just a closing note on how this all relates even to COVID-19. I mean, it's the thing is this is obviously so all-inclusive, this crisis. And I think what we're seeing now is that even our teams all have a hand to play in helping us respond to COVID-19 and create preparedness and community resilience for other threats that we know are on the horizon. So we're finding also that SARS-CoV-2 is present in sewage water, and this is perhaps a potential public health risk. It's emerging science, but we worry about it in Lebanon because a lot of our sewage is not treated. About 92% of it goes untreated into waterways. And also we have leaky wastewater and domestic water systems. So there could be cross-contamination there. And this is relevant for Ain al-Kharrouba and Damour. We have an overwhelming need. I think now it's more clear than ever for accessible green spaces, as we've all been cooped up at home for way too long. And Ashrafiyya and Mazra'at Yeshua are helping create green community spaces. And of course, schools are going to have to, whenever it is that we get back to the actual school, the physical school, not the virtual one, they're going to require proper hygiene and preparedness to promote the safety and health of these children that go to both Abba and Riyadh al-Sulah. This is where we're hoping to create a model for how schools can not just deal with solid waste, but also be sanitary in how they. So another is, of course, the open dumping that we see across the country. And this is a potential source of airborne particles for COVID-19. I mean, many of the countries that have the capacity to change their solid waste management amidst the crisis have done so. We worry these people that are isolated at home that contracted the virus, the material that comes out of that house, the waste can be contaminated also. So it needs to go to a sanitary landfill, not an open dump. And we're working with Tibiyat and Salata to make sure that we can improve on solid waste management at the village level and share those findings with other villages also. Last is the urgent need for food production that comes from Lebanon. I think it's really dawning on us the crisis that comes forward when you rely too heavily on imports. And so production and Burjain to do that with our beloved Kharroub plant, which actually originates from the Levant. So on that note, thank you so much for giving me the chance to give this introduction, and I'll leave the floor for Dr. Saliba.
Thank you, Sami, so much for the detailed presentation on the Environment Academy. Always great to be working with you as well. Now it's the turn for Dr. Saliba. Dr. Najat Saliba is a professor in chemistry and the director of the Nature Conservation Center at AUB. Dr. Saliba developed innovative methods to characterize smoke and tobacco and non-tobacco nicotine delivery systems. Her work on air pollution focuses on understanding the levels, sources, and transformations of pollutants. Dr. Saliba leads projects based on a public participatory approach that aim to find innovative solutions to local environmental challenges. She was voted among the top 100 most influential women by BBC in 2019. She is the recipient of the 2019 L'Oréal UNESCO International Award for Women in Science, the National Order of the Cedar from the President of the Lebanese Republic, the Honorary Cedar Shield from the Speaker of the Parliament of Lebanon, the Lebanese National Council for Scientific Research Award in the Environment category in 2016. It's such a huge pleasure to be working with you, Dr. Saliba, and thank you for joining us again to this webinar today. I leave the floor for you now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Sami, for all the efforts. And I know it's volunteering, and but it has been really, really refreshing to see people like you, Rita, and Sami, and all the mentors putting all their expertise and heart into the projects. I just want to say a few words about why the Environment Academy and why now. It's simply because we decided at the AUB Nature Conservation Center to take the matters in our own hands. We said no more top-down agendas, and we said no for preset development plans or projects. We want projects that answer our needs, and we want to do them ourselves. Our problems are ours. We have both the know-how and the will to propose and implement solutions to our pressing environmental problems. We started with an idea that we presented on MTV. People responded overwhelmingly. We were in awe by the dedication, the level of awareness, and the determinations of the participants. They responded to our call for action right away. We agreed with MTV to embark in an Environment Academy altogether. We knew that the road is not going to be easy. we realized that challenges like despair, micropolitics, and budgeting and financing are going to be surmounted. We were super lucky to join efforts with the Lebanese diaspora to make all solutions made in Lebanon and by Lebanese. For the first time in the history of Lebanon, academicians, private investors, volunteers, TV, local residents, and members of the public sector are working hand in hand to make the Environment Academy a success. They can steal our money. They can corrupt our government. They can exploit our nature. But two things they cannot do is to take our brain and our love for our country. The Environment Academy is our hope. I invite you all to take part of the Environment Academy because all together we need to drive the change. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sadiba.
Thank you, Dr. Sadiba. Your words go straight to the heart, and I would like to thank you on behalf of everybody because you're the reason why the Environment Academy has come to life, and we're all here right now because of this. So now we're going to get to the part where we're actually going to hear from the villages. We have 5 villages, and one person, either the mentor or the leader of the village, will be presenting the problem or the issue that the village is facing and how they're going to be fixing that issue over the next few months. Please feel free to ask any questions as we go, but we're going to hear from all the villages and take the questions at the end. You can either ask them in the chat or in the question box below, and we're going to make sure to get to all of your questions in due time. So first, I would love to introduce Marwan Fakhr, who's the mentor from AUB. And Marwan has a chemical engineering degree from the American University of Beirut. His work as a community outreach coordinator at the AUB Nature Conservation Center involves communication with local communities and the creation of necessary interlock with municipalities and various governmental entities. His expertise ranges from leading and training various field surveyors and engineering teams in local communities to assessing and analyzing field results. Thank you, Marwan, for being with us, and I'm going to leave the floor to you now. Marwan, we can't hear you in case you're speaking.
Yes, hello everyone. I will be, my team member will start by presenting the introduction about this village, and he will also present our problem, and then I will continue with the solution. So Sharif, please start.
So hi, I want to check that everyone is hear me.
Yes, we can. Thank you, Sharif.
Okay. So hi everyone, and thank you for attending our webinar. I am Sharif Tarhini from AUB team, and first I would like to thank Dr. Najat and Marwan, our mentors, for their work and for their time. And first I want to present my team. This is me, Sharif Tarhini, a surveying engineer. Dareen is a PhD student in private law. Anisa is in physical chemistry, and Nadine is in therapy. And also we have Muhammad, an agriculture engineer, and Hassan, a geographical teacher. We are all from AUB, and we all have Tarhini nickname. AUB is a small village, South Lebanon, Nabatiya area. Total area of the village is 7.42 kilometers square. Most of it is cultivated area. And as a village, we used to plant different type of plants like cactus and tobacco, the most two favorite planting in our area. Also, we have different historical landmarks, like this one in the east is the return to Mamluki Ari. The total population of our village is around 8,000. And the issue started in 2016 when Al-Kfur sorting plant was closed in Nabati area. As most of in the crisis of that crisis of garbage in 2016 in Lebanon that happened, the close of this sorting plant was because of mismanagement and corruption. So the municipalities go to the easiest solution to create a landfill. As you see, this landfill in our village. And the first time when I hear about the environmental academy, well, my goal was about this landfill and how to remove this landfill. And we proposed our solution to remove this landfill. But because of the economic situation and the coronavirus, we turned to work on a small scale on the public school in our village. And especially in the next year, as expected a high increase in number of registered students. And also we have the lack of funding in this type of schools and the absence of prepare awareness program that at the level of this school, and also the teaching change that happened during this pandemic, the COVID pandemic. So the problem that we are working on is the absence of environmental awareness in the Agba public school, so that we are not taking the advantage of recycling the waste on the school, and also absence of concept of waste reduction between the students. There is no awareness about waste. So this leads to increases the of solid waste in the town, raising the generation havoc in environmental awareness. I will give the mic for my friend Marwan to speak about that.
Thank you, Sharif. So our solution approach is based on the ISO 1900 certification, which is given to environmental companies. Usually it's a corporate certification. It has 4 main cores, which is start, act, watch, and aware. That's why we called our program SAWA, which in Arabic translates to together. So during the first phase of our project, we will start by performing a waste characterization and quantification of the solid waste produced at the level of the school. This will be followed by engaging the faculty and staff and students in education workshops to build the school's green team. After that, the ACT phase will start, where we will co-create with the school a collective plan to induce awareness and develop a solid waste management for the school, and introduce awareness materials and topics integrated with academic curriculum, and the utilization of out-of-class activities to spread environmental awareness in an easy and enjoyable way. The watch phase will be over 2 stages. The first would be monitoring the impact of the awareness before and after via simple exams tailored to assess knowledge and practice in the students and the change that happened in the knowledge and practice, and using another characterization and quantification method to assess the pre and post waste generation at the level of the school. This will be followed by the award phase, where we will reward the green team who has put lots of effort during the school year per se, and give certificates to the participants in that team. The mitigation strategy for waste reduction will be based on reducing the number of plastic bottles, which is the main source of waste generation at the level of the schools. Based on our previous campaigns that we've done, by giving them, as you can see on the top right, those reusable water bottles. And we will encourage both faculty, students, and staff to use them. And we would also install a water cooler so that in the summers, kids will always have access to not only safe and potable water, but also cold water so that they can enjoy. We will also be replacing the sandwich and plastic wrappers with paper products and grocery bags with shopping bags, as we can see the tote bag on the lower right of the screen. And we will use this logo, which is the 3R logo, saying that it's easy, it's useful, and it's very necessary. Recycling is easy, useful, and necessary. However, we are currently facing a few challenges, especially in respect to the COVID-19. For COVID-19 has hit different and various sectors, so education is not, nonetheless, it's not different. So what our schools need is to provide them with hygiene equipment. That's assuming that schools were to open next year. It's necessary to create training for both parents and teachers to successfully make the leap towards online education or semi-online education, which seems inevitable now. And it's very necessary to provide students with the necessary equipment for online classes, whether it be laptops, tablets, and easy internet access. Thank you.
Thank you, Marwan. Thank you so much for this presentation, and Sharif as well. You know, I've already received some feedback, some positive feedback on Abba already now. People are happy to see a village like Abba taking part of this initiative. So really best of luck, and I think you'll have even more support coming your way. Now we're gonna move to Berjane project. I will introduce our mentor, Walid Khouri. Walid is volunteering from the UK, from Impact Lebanon, to mentor this project. He has a background in tech, business, policy, and sustainability, having attended in Siyad for his MBA and Johns Hopkins for an MA in energy economics and sustainability. He spent some time at Amazon as a senior product manager, working for their food delivery service. His main expertise in sustainability are smart cities and alternative food production system. Thank you, Walid, for all the effort you've already put in. I know how much effort you've been doing with the local team. So thank you for joining, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mohammed, for that introduction. I will actually start the presentation by giving the floor to team leader Dia, who actually put together a presentation as well, or the proposal rather, that won them this mentorship opportunity, who's going to talk about the team, the origination of the idea, and the existing problem. Then we'll move into the solution afterwards. So Diala, please take it away.
So good morning, everyone. I'm Diala Boarim. Actually, I hold BS in biochemistry from Lebanese University. So yes. So Walid, if you would like to introduce the team, or me, depends. What do you want? Do you hear me?
So yes, yeah, I've been working with Berjane for a month now, and a very exciting team to work with and very engaged. Diala, again, is the team leader, and she's the one who put together the proposal with some other residents from Berjane. And she's going to basically introduce the kind of context around Berjane, the problem, and then I'll talk about the solution afterwards.
So first of all, just to give a little background about Berjane, actually. Berjane, it's a populated area in Shuf districts of Man, Lebanon, specifically in Iqlim al-Khurub. It's an area of approximately 300 meters above the sea. What's make Berjane different that it suffered a lot from the civil war previous years later. So what actually it gives us what make this project is very important to us as a team, because it gives us the opportunity to bring back the cultural identity to our village, Berjane. So why Berjane exactly? Because historically, it's impossible to imagine Berjane without Karub tree. Karoub tree provide to this village its productive culture, environmental identity. And unfortunately, losing culture identity is a common issue that threats all Lebanese villages, not only Bourgain. But if we specify Bourgain, we will see that there's a widespread concern about the potential danger of losing its valuable culture product, which Karoub molasses. In current environment, the factory owners struggle to give back or bring back the prosperity to this production. So by convening members of local community to have a dialogue or understand the causes behind the decline of this production, actually, it was easy to us to identify that there's a big danger or potential danger in Bourgain to lose its culture product, which molasses, and it comes from main cause, which the shortage in resources. And here when I say shortage in resources is mainly the lack of Karoub tree in Bourgain. So why that? Because the previous war, as I said, Bourgain suffered a lot from the civil war. Bourgain lost during this period 80% of Karoub tree. And what added to the problem worse, it's the human activity there and the lack of interest among the new generation to plant the Karoub tree in their lands. This problem also affects in the long term the different aspects of living in Bourgain, whatever it's a greenery or the industrial lives or even the productive environmental livelihood life in Bourgain. So identifying the problem, exploring the problem with which is the shortage in resources, in other words, is the lack of Karoub tree, drive us to the solution. And here comes our project to be a new form of cultural environmental project where its solution actually it's a mix of different aspects, whatever it's environmental, cultural, or even commercial. So regarding the solution, I will leave the floor to our mentor Walid to talk more about this solution and where we are from our project and where we want to be.
So to explain the solution, actually focusing on planting 1,500 young Karoub trees, I guess, in the next 18 to 24 months. It's actually reached a point where the fruit is productive, but I'm sure most of you know that the Karoub tree, actually the Karoub fruit is highly profitable and highly lucrative and important source of economic vitality for a lot of these communities. So bringing that back, the target is to plant 1,500 trees in the next 24 months. In terms of the benefits and the frameworks, I'll get into the timeline after that. But benefit culturally right now is bridging the generational gap where we're younger generation losing interest in actually engaging with the legacy of the Karoub, and the information is stored within the older generation. So there's a lot of potential for generational amnesia and losing kind of sense of identity. This is also meant to, first of all, act as a bridge between the two generations to revitalize and also bring the community together. And that's, we're going to really focus on grassroots organization, kind of community activism to get people engaged, either through education or cultural events. Karoub tree and molasses, its powder form, its seed form. Many of the different forms of the Karoub fruit have a lot of benefit. Have a lot of potential uses in commercial life, whether through makeup or through candy or through a chocolate alternative. We really want to bring that back to the community and revitalize that. And one of the problems we see in implementation is that there's a lot of micropolitics that you see throughout Lebanon, but also within the village as well, is how are we going to get all the vested interests and the kind of inboard, and we're trying to focusing on shared investment and agricultural commons where people are sharing the fruits of the labor, so to speak. And the environmental benefit is we really want to get a mixed use out of the orchards to some degree, because biodiversity is critical for the long-term sustainability of these kind of farms, for the health of the soil. Monoculturalism, again, monocultures don't really last as long. So we want to make sure environmentally it's diverse, but at the same time, we also, from the start, want to think about our carbon footprint. So we want to implement from the start a life cycle assessment of what we're doing. So that's kind of the three different approaches. The timeline is, given the planting season, again, is delayed, and also with COVID is where it is right now, we are kind of taking the time to make sure that we get the fundamentals right, which basically means we're doing a production and market analysis. We're really need to understand the stakeholders that are involved with this within the village, so that no one stakeholder that has a lot of influence can put the thing out of balance. And after 12 to 18 months, probably by next year, we'll plant, do the awareness campaign, start training the new workforce. And then at that point, we will just keep things in maintenance and kind of start maybe creating yearly cultural events or quarterly cultural events to get people involved. And that's kind of the timeline for this particular project. We think I have high potential for success, but again, I think the biggest barriers to implementation will be maybe potential funding, but also just getting all the stakeholders on board. And that's what we're being cognizant of. So thank you for your time, and that's where we're at with this project.
Thank you so much, Walid, for the presentation, as well, Diala. Very happy to have you with us here today. And thank you for all the effort, and best of luck for this project. It seems like a very interesting project and very much needed, and really best of luck. Now we're gonna move to another project, very exciting also, on Ashrafiyya. Our mentor with us today is Maya Abdul Latif. Maya is also from the UK mentors from Impact Lebanon. Maya is a very dynamic landscape architect with 12 years professional experience and with a passion to urban landscape and green infrastructures. She has worked at offices in London and Beirut, working on different type of projects, from small-scale residential projects to large urban-scale master plans, mostly in the Middle East region and UK. Maya has been working at AUB, a global engineering company in London, for the past 7 years. Some of the key projects she was involved in are Al Wakra Stadium for FIFA 2022, West Cambridge Master Plan, and Abu Dhabi International Airport. Her work consists on presenting conceptual frameworks, initiating designs ideas, identifying sustainable solutions, developing final designs, as well as coordinating with other consultants. Her interest lays in communities and ecology, which she tries to always integrate into her designs. Maya has an MA in Landscape and Urbanism with distinction from the Architecture Association London, BS in Landscape Design and Ecosystem Management, Diploma Agricultural Engineering from AUB, and she is a chartered member of the Landscape Institute in UK. Maya, thank you for joining us here today. It has been really fun working with you, and glad that we've been working together and we've also become friends. And I think this also applies to Walid, but I forgot to mention it. So Maya, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo, for this great introduction. I'm also very happy to be part of this project initiative, for Lebanon while living far away. So yeah, and yeah, great to meet you as well. Although we still didn't meet, we're still virtual friends. So okay, I'm gonna share my screen. And 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna give, Fuad is gonna introduce the team and the problem issue with Ashrafiyya, and then I'll take over for the solution.
Great. Hello, everyone. First, hope you are all safe in this situation. And second, I'd really like to thank everyone for really believing in our projects, especially in this situation that we have in Lebanon and in the world. I know it's not easy. We are facing a lot of problems, especially in Lebanon. So I would like to thank Dr. Saliba and all the mentors and everyone for giving the time and the effort. This is first. I would like to introduce my team. First, I'm Fuad Adoum. I have BS in acting and directing, and I have 13 years of experience in production and commercials management. I'm a regional TV. I was a regional TV producer in one of the biggest companies in the MENA, and I have 6 years experience in sales, training, and now in life coaching. Currently, I'm a development training manager in one of the biggest companies. We train like sales companies like MetLife, the insurance, ministers, and different kind of lawyers. This is me. I am the team leader. Suraya, she had a BS in business management with a minor in marketing from LAU. She then got a master's degree in fashion business from Milan. She worked for a few years as a women's wear fashion buyer for HD. Her work involves like collections, merchandising plans, and monitoring the sales performance. And Suraya, she is the logistics coordinator in our team. As for Lara have a master's in marketing from the Lebanese University. By the way, she's my wife. And she has extended experience in several business sectors like banking, hospitality, and events. We moved together in Georgia. We opened a fruit bar, our own business over there. And then we came back to Lebanon last November. So this is mainly our team. Okay. I'd like to now to talk a little bit about our project, about the issue in our project. The first thing I'm going to say is, I don't know if you know that till 1930, Ashrafiyya was like a farmland only. And then the government decided, to start the building and the population over there. And since there, we are facing a lot of problems, and especially not just in Ashrafiyya, in all Beirut. And if you see in this photo, and I don't know if I should thank like COVID-19 for reducing a little bit this pollution above Beirut, but we have a very high level of air pollution. And one of also of the problem that we have is, as you can see also, is a lack of green spaces due to the population density. So this is mainly the main problem that we are facing in Beirut, and especially in Ashrafiyya. You can see Ashrafiyya in the middle of this photo, actually. The results of the CO2 emissions are very high, especially because of the car usage and the diesel generators, which is one of the main reasons and this is a very big problem. Also, in the issue, we have a lack of absence in the green spaces. And lately, we really don't know what is the reason why the government and everyone is not interested in this, and they are removing a lot of green spaces, a lot of public gardens from Ashrafiyya and from different places. And people, as you all know, everywhere in the world, people need this space to relax, to just energize, to really socialize also, because this is where people meet each other. This is where people see other people, and they can do like sports, and they can read a book or something. And this is a very big problem that we have here and in our area. Actually, this is the reason this problem is affecting our health, and especially Rita, I think will be glad. Well, she's not be glad, or of course, but she will really understand that we have 931 lung cancer every year. Actually, this is the rate of death, which is 2.75 of the deaths in Lebanon. So, and I think this is a very big problem that we are facing here. So, and now this is our problem. Maya will tell you more about our solution and how we are going to really face this problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fuad. I'm not, 1 second. I think I'm not able, sorry. I think my my screen is stuck on the same.
Try maybe exiting the screen, sharing.
Well, I'm trying.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop sharing and then I'll share again. 1 second.
Yes.
Sorry about this. I don't know what happened.
Maya, I can share the screen. I can try to share the screen.
1 second. I'm gonna try one more time. I think. If it doesn't work, you'll do it. 1 second.
Yeah, it's working now.
Okay. So obviously the obvious solution is we want to mitigate the exposure of Ashrafi habitants to CO2 emissions. We want to improve air quality. We want to try and provide Ashrafi habitants with a green space. And like from the pictures we showed before, we decided to take Sassine Square as like our area of intervention, because you all know that it is like a very busy area, and also it is definitely lacking a green space. And but the idea is that we use it as a prototype. Like we start with Sassine Square, but then hopefully we develop something that can be later implemented and adopted in other areas in Beirut and Lebanon. And through this process, like what we felt that is really important is to engage the local community of Ashrafi in this whole process, because at the end of the day, we don't want to propose something that they don't feel engaged and involved in. So, these are sort of the processes that we're using that to lead us to this solution. The team undertook like a survey, a local community survey, to try and assess the insights of the habitants and like to assess the problem, what do they really think the problem, and also what can they perceive can be beneficial to them. And it was really interesting, like, and we tried to engage with a community that is from different age group, different gender, and yeah, like this is for example one of the outputs. Like, yeah, they want something, for example, green, and they want something that it is quieter, less traffic. So so we took that, and this is where we're at the moment, is that we're trying to see what does that mean, trying to give definition of what they're asking for. And we developed 3 very quick options. Actually, the first one was already in the proposal that the team presented, but we thought, okay, we don't want to directly put something, propose something there that probably the community is not happy about. So let's take a step back and try to really see what they would be like. What are the different options? And these are the three options that we're currently working on. One is a sort of a self kind of sustained cube with rainwater collection and renewable energy. Another one is a living green wall, and the third one would be sort of the safest way, which would be creating a green square. And like what we are at now is another survey to see what which option we would be the community would like to see moving forward. And obviously we need to continue communication with the municipality and get them on board, and also to get all the surveys. And what we also, like, since we're engaging with the community, we already asked them like, would you be willing to volunteer in this project? And the response was really positive, and they even told us like what ways they would like to volunteer. So we're gonna keep on doing that so that we move the project forward. That's it.
Thank you, Maya and Fuad. This is a very important project. Ashrafi is actually my hometown, and in all transparency, I wasn't involved in the selection or the evaluation of the project. But I'm happy that it's underlying a very important issue, which is the importance of green spaces in terms of improving quality of life, both on the mental health and in the physical health. As we know, pollution increases the risk for lung cancers. And I hope that Ashrafiya will become the model for other cities, big cities with heavy air pollution to follow. And so thank you again. And before we keep going, I just wanted to say that we started receiving questions. Just make sure that when you ask a question to add the name of the village or city you're addressing the question to. So next we have Ain Al Kharouba team. And it's my pleasure to introduce Tariq Amin, who's actually part of the US team. He is a senior project manager at Bechtel Corporation with 20 years of experience in capital project execution within the oil and gas and infrastructure industries. He is a subject matter expert in establishing complex international execution sites and project delivery at multiple remote overseas locations. He holds a BA in economics and an MBA in operation and supply chain management from the University of Houston. And he's the recipient of several international awards, including the 2016 ENR Global Best Projects Awards in Australia and the 2014 ESNH Australia Pacific Module Yard of the Year Award. It's been a pleasure having Tariq on the team. He's been heavily involved and never shied from contributing to various aspects. And so I leave the floor to you and your team, Tariq.
Thank you, Rita, very much for this introduction. And just because we cannot thank Dr. Saliba enough, I want to say thank you one more time, and for her and for the Environmental Academy for starting this life-changing mission for many people. And most importantly, in that journey, she brought very impressive and accomplished young people that I'm very proud to be associated with, like Rita and Muhammad from Impact Lebanon. And also the team that I get the pleasure to work with, the Ain Al Kharouba team. These guys have really been impressive. They've been working hard during this situation to provide a very feasible. So I'm going to let Karen to introduce the team and talk a little bit about Ain Al Kharouba, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit about the solution and where we're going from there. So Karen.
Hi, thank you, Tariq. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm going to start presenting. So please let me know if you can see my screen. Just a second. Okay. So I just want to start by thanking first Tariq for all his continuous support. Everyone with us every step of the way. So thank you, Marwan. So our project for the Environmental Academy is that of Ain Kharoube, our town. I'll start by introducing the team. Of course, our mentor is Tariq, who was just introduced. He's a senior project manager at Bechtel, and he's specialized in the oil, gas, and chemical sector. I'm Karen. I have a bachelor in civil engineering from AUB and a master's in environmental engineering from EPFL in Lausanne, in Switzerland. Currently, I'm a water engineer with the Lebanese Red Cross, and I'm the project coordinator. My sister Christina, she just finished her last year as a chemical engineering student at AUB, and she's a research assistant in one of the labs. For our team, she's a budget analyst and a researcher. Joelle, she's also a chemical engineering student at AUB, and she's a researcher on our team. Sherbil, he's an agriculture engineer, and he's a co-founder of a startup that deals with plastic alternatives. Mashtik is the name of the startup, and he's in our team, the product analyst. So Ain Kharoube is a small town in Matan. As I've said before, we work on quality and not quantity. We're only around 2,000 people. Everyone here is connected to their lands and the town's history. Town's name comes from Ain, which is a small well, and Kharoube, which is the carob tree, which was just discussed by another team. AK we call it AK, so AK has several local water sources, most notably the well of Saint Rafa, which is historical and abundant, but it's not a potable water source. AK overlooks Nahr al-Kalab and the Kisrwan Kaza. And everyone's really enthusiastic about keeping the town impeccable, but currently we lack a municipality, and like many other small towns, we don't have any governmental support. The issue that we're dealing with is that of water, evidently. The village is rich and abundant with water, but it is contaminated. In 2015, a survey on the water in the town showed that around 60% of the people do not trust the water they receive at the tap, and they rate the quality as bad. So the water is considered contaminated, and everyone, well, almost everyone, resorts to purchasing water, mostly as bottled water, which increases the consumption of plastic in the town. The village shares a central reservoir, which I will point out in the next slide. The reservoir is found in the neighboring town, Hamlaya. So there are a total of 4 towns benefiting from this reservoir. The municipal water source is therefore managed by the government, so the Beirut and North Lebanon Water Establishment. It's drawn from Naba Jamajin, and it's stored mainly in this reservoir. Our main goal was to have people drink water from the tap, and this is something that Tariq will discuss now as part of the solution. But we needed to start by our next big step is to investigate whether the contamination comes from the storage tank or from the distribution network. This is Ain Kharoube. This is a Google photo of it. This is the town itself and the towns surrounding it. The conduits come from Hamlaya, and they feed into our town as well as the neighboring towns. And the pink lines here are the delineation of Ain Kharoube. So far, the results of the point of use water tests that we have conducted, although they show low nitrites and chlorides, they show that we have a lack of free chlorine and high nitrates. And the lack of free chlorine is the main bulk of the issue. And I will move over to Tariq, and he will explain the solution for us.
Thank you, Karen. So the team, in the team proposal, they've selected to go with a point of view solution in the households, and based on some of the comments that we received in the evaluation, and when we started working together, we said, what are the opportunities to expand and benefit into a centralized solution? The key, which is really admirable goal, and I love that logo that says "Ayn al-Kharoubi, Nerja Nishra min al-Hanafi." It's I think it's a global goal that everybody is struggling with, but it's definitely a great mission to go towards it. So the solution that the team has thought up at the beginning was to have an accessible and affordable and convenient, and of course a sustainable solution, and looked at the household. As Karen mentioned, the initial solution was going to address about 25% of the household in there, and this is still a very viable solution that we're looking at. I think it's on the next slide, if you don't mind, Karen.
Is that the slide, though?
Yeah, this one here. So the team is really looking at two solutions. One is the decentralized, which was in the proposal, and looking at benefiting the number of households, about 25%, of putting some filters at their point of use, and trying putting chlorinations in their tanks. This is a solution that gets to the end results pretty quickly. It gives the benefit for people to drinking from the tap there. But based on the comments, as I mentioned earlier in the review, and the location of the central tank that Karen mentioned, there are an opportunity to expand the impact of a solution, although it's a little bit more complex to look at it and benefit the 4 towns instead of just 1. So we are planning on looking at the viability of such solutions. We want to test the tank. Also, we want to test the distribution network that comes, that brings the water to the tank, and truly look if we can create a little bit bigger macro project. So we're spending this time to look at the feasibility of such a project, which brings bigger benefit to greater populations. Also, our plan is to engage with the vendor communities and look at some of the vendors there as supporters, also as providing some ideas and capability to not only for the short-term implementation, but also for the long-term maintenance and operations, especially if it's a centralized location. So the team is working hard. There's a lot of efforts going behind, kind of running a parallel path between decentralized and centralized, and we're looking forward to, narrow down in the selection in the very near futures and move forward to these next phases of the projects. And with that, that's our solution.
Thank you, Tariq and Karen, for this great presentation. It's really sad to see like a water-rich country like Lebanon facing such big problems in water due to the huge mismanagement everywhere. But on the other side, it's very promising and positive to see such projects being implemented. And hopefully with the success of it, it will be replicated in many different villages in Lebanon. So thank you so much and best of luck. From water, we go to waste management now. And with Anwar Al-Shami and Ibtibiat. Anwar is the lead environmental engineer at the American University of Beirut Nature Conservation Center. He published several online decision support tools and monitoring dashboards. And as part of his work at AUB NCC, led on a multiple of solid waste management projects. He has experience in integrated solid waste management, energy policy analysis, air pollution emission inventories, geospatial imagery analysis, marine surface oil spill modeling, spectral wind wave modeling, machine learning, and interactive data visualization. Thank you, Ibtibiat team and Anwar for joining us today. Anwar, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I'd like to ask Sally from the team to initiate this presentation.
Yeah. I'll start sharing my screen so you can see it. So are you able to see my screen and the presentation? Okay. So I'll start. I want to start by saying that I'm very thankful for all of you guys for the efforts you are putting into this great initiative. And I'm very glad to be presenting my team and the project. So first of all, I would like also to thank our mentors, Dr. Najat Saliba, Dr. Dominique Saleme, and Mr. Anwar Shame as well. As for the team, for our team from Tibet, we have Suraya, who is currently responsible for communication with the local community and currently leading the data analysis and data collection that is taking place as part of this project. We have also Nizar, who is a hydrogeologist, and he will be responsible for the implementation of the project, and myself. I personally have a bachelor in civil and environmental engineering and a master's degree in engineering management. And I'm currently working with Veolia, the leading environmental company. And I have several years of experience in the field of water and wastewater treatment in the municipal industry. So I know that many of you are wondering, haven't even heard about it yet and don't know where it is located. So here are some few information about our village. It is located in Mount Lebanon Governorate in Babda district, Upper Matan area, or the area called known as Matn al-Ala. It is 32 kilometers away from Beirut. We are located at around 700 meters above sea level. In Lebanon, in Tibet, 203 people only reside. We have 45 households, and the local authority here is Mukhtar. We haven't had a municipality yet. Here I'm sharing with you some of the pictures from Tibet, taken in Tibet. I want to add that Tibet is part of the famous Valley of Hammana, otherwise known as La Vallée de Lamartine, named after the French poet Alphonse de Lamartine. Tibet is known for its rich biodiversity, and we as a group and as a team, we are driven by a passion to conserve this beautiful identity of our village, and we are ready to take action, appropriate action, and guided action in order to overcome the challenges and threats that we're facing on the level of the environment in Tibet. So one of the most challenging threats that we're facing in Tibet is related to solid waste mismanagement. So due to the absence of a municipal authority and lack of any solid waste management plan in the village, the waste that is generated in the village is discharged into the water stream, which is part of Beirut River. This spot is supposed to be one of the most beautiful spots in the area. However, it is transformed into an open dump. So due to all these causes that I'm sharing with you, due to the absence of a municipal authority, in addition to ineffective policies, inefficient laws and regulation, and the lack somehow of environmental responsibility within the community, we have witnessed the creation and the emergence of an open dump. I want to stress on the bad and the negative environmental impact and health-related issues associated with this open dump. It is very bad. It is causing some very bad visual impact. It generates unpleasant odor, especially in the summer. It's contributing also to the pollution of Beirut River, because the pollution is not contained only in Tibet. The trash is being transported by the flow downstream the village to other villages, other areas, and maybe all the way down to Beirut and the sea. This is also putting at risk our groundwater, and Tibet is known for its richness in groundwater. So through the possible infiltration of the leachate that is generated by this open dump and into the aquifers, we risk the contamination of our groundwater. And it's important to say here that just few meters away from this open dump, we have a water source that is feeding the whole region and the majority of the upper Matan area. So any contamination can cause very serious health repercussions. In addition, and as Sami was saying at the beginning, that this is also related to other health risks, especially due to the attraction and multiplication of rodents and flies, mosquitoes, that accelerate the spread of viruses and bacteria and disease, in fact. So on top of that, we have socioeconomic consequences due to the loss of ecotourism opportunities, because as I was saying, this was supposed to be a very attractive place, an attractive place to like to nature love. So due to the emergence of this open dump, we are losing ecotourism opportunities. I want to add that due to all these negative impacts and health-related issues, we were pushed to be part of this initiative to apply, and we are now very happy to work alongside our mentors who are experts in this field in order to come up with the best solution and the optimal solution for our beloved village in order to overcome these threats and these environmental problems. So I'm going to leave the floor to Anwar to talk more and elaborate on the solution and what we have been doing so far. So Anwar, you can share your now.
Thank you, Sally. So given all these issues, an overview of how Tibet handles waste management. It's not that different from most Lebanese villages here in Tibet, because it's a commingled waste stream. And after discussing a lot with the team, and after the team's discussions and surveys of the inhabitants of the village, we decided on dissecting this commingled waste stream and solving it separately on 3 different levels: on the organic portion, the recyclable portion, and what's to be called rejects. Let me first discuss why is this important in the bigger context. Tibet is just one of the many communities that do not have a local authority, and that usually causes issues very similar to what you have seen in Tibet. And these communities usually have the ability, since they're usually smaller communities, they might have the ability to solve this problem collectively, solve and provide solid waste services collectively. And so, although we're developing a solution for Tibet, but we want it to be a replicable, modular solution that could serve, if proven successful, as a concept for decentralized, sustainable solid waste management for the remaining similar communities in the same circumstance. On the organic part of the stream, we will be using a technique that has been tried and tested in Lebanon and is developed actually at the Nature Conservation Center. It's an in-vessel composting bin that uses passive aeration, and it is very suited and designed basically to be used in households and in backyards. And Sally and the team have been able to affirm that all of the households in Tibet are willing to use one for their organic waste, to compost their organic waste. As for the remaining elements of the waste, we are planning to store the recyclables that will be separately collected on a monthly basis from the households. And given that it's only 45 households, this would be doable on a monthly basis. So we're planning to store these recyclables to be later sold to cover the operating costs, and also store the rejects, whereby the operating costs would cover disposing of these rejects as either as RDF or in sanitary landfills that are close by. Here I want to really commend the team because they did a really great job in quantifying the waste. They have been doing volumetric and gravimetric quantification of the waste in Tibet in order to size how much volume we need in these containers, or how many containers we need to use to size and do the financial feasibility of transporting the waste, and the financial feasibility of selling the recyclables. And as well as the many surveys that they have done with the community, trying to see and design the solution in a way that would be acceptable to everyone, because eventually this would be community run, given that there is no municipality. The team is now finalizing the data collection, and when we have the final numbers, the team will be able to come up with the detailed plan of how many containers do we need, what kind of truck is feasible to do the monthly collection, and they will finalize contacts with who would be receiving the rejects and who would be buying the recyclables. Thank you.
Thank you, Anwar. This is great. We have sorry, if you can stop sharing your screen. Yes.
Done.
Awesome. Okay. I wanted to thank you for this great presentation. The team is doing a great job, and I think this is a very important aspect of waste management that we need to work on. I'm gonna move forward to the question and answers part of this discussion. We have a few questions. Some of them have been answered, but I would love for everybody to hear the answers as well. You can keep sending questions as we go. Just make sure to mention at the beginning who you're addressing the question for. Is it to Dr. Saliba, Sami, or one of the villages? The first question was asked by George Mkhayel, and it was addressed to Berjane. And I believe George is the one who asked several really good questions during our first webinar. So his comment is impressive details and approach. He has two questions. What is the biggest risk that you see to the sustainability of the project, that the Kharoub trees you plant will still be there in 10 to 20 years? And two, have you seen any recent innovative use for Kharoub that could result in increased profitability? Walid, I know you've already answered, but would you like to share your answer with everybody, please?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I think that at least in the short term, the biggest risks are in the short term in terms of getting this project off the ground. I think when the trees reach maturity, my assumption, and Diala can confirm as well, is that they would have rooted themselves literally and kind of also figuratively into the community where they're not going to go anywhere. They're producing enough fruit. So I think 10 to 20 years, I don't see much political risk, much environmental risk. And the commercial risk would be, let's say that, all the villages around Berjane start to produce Kharoub trees, because in the example, the price of Kharoub will go down because the supply goes up. And then maybe at that point, more profitable plants will start to be considered, and in that way, maybe the trees could be removed. That's what I would think long term. And then Diala has told me as well, in terms of perhaps one of the biggest risks also is the labor force that would be relevant to be able to pick these things would just disappear in 10 to 20 years, because it might not be relevant for the younger generations to be picking this. So those are the two kind of the biggest risks. I think from the innovative side, in terms of what we've seen, at least in terms of profitability, is just the powder that comes from the seeds. And first of all, the density of that, you get, I think, I can't give you a price, but it's pretty high per gram. I think $30 per gram some places, and it's used in makeup. Other innovative, I'm always open to hear more if you have any sort of thoughts on this. Where we'd love to hear some input on what other innovative things you've heard of that could be useful for us for this project.
Thanks, Walid. Appreciate it. We have a few other questions.
Sorry, Mohammed, if I could add a few things here about carob and the value of carob. I think in the past, the carob seeds used to be called the black diamond. And ever since the Bible existed, it used to be also the food for St. John. So the carob has a lot of values. And one of the main things that people use is that when they get the gum from the seed, it's used as a thickening agent in a lot of food industry. And I know that Häagen-Dazs uses this thickening agent in their delicious ice cream as well. So in addition to the thickening agencies, the thickening material that they can get from the seed itself, there is a lot of products also that can be produced from the pods. And it's definitely a circular economy because it benefits everyone. And you don't generate much waste. Sami did a lot of research on this. I'm not sure if he wants to add a few things here.
I mean, it's just to pick up on those very nice points that you're making, Dr. Saliba. I think it's one of those plants that kind of holds a lot of our heritage. It's as we were hearing from Diala and Walid, this is a plant that used to cover landscapes and was always looked up to for its many benefits. And I think bringing that kind of image back to the carob is extremely important because we also have, there's some background coming from someone. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we also have quite a bit of benefits that we have from carob also for medical industry. Muhammad, would you mind muting all participants? There's a weird sound in the background. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Sami, you need to unmute yourself. He muted you too.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, just was saying, it's very interesting for medical uses. It's been used to treat diabetes, used for weight loss. And just a final note on the carob, actually, the word carrot that we use to measure diamonds and all of that actually originates from carob. The seed was used as a standard unit of measurement to weigh gold or diamonds, and 14 carats was 14 carob seeds, and they found out that actually that isn't a very very consistent way of making measurements for very expensive items. So we moved away from that, but the word now is with us. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that, by the way.
Thanks,
Hamad, we have two comments from George and Naila in response to Walid and Sami and Dr. Saliba's response, if you can read those.
True. From George, he's thanking Walid and he would suggest investigating health food options, saying that there are some Lebanese startups that may use it. For instance, you could check out Taka or others in Souq al-Tayyib. So this is from George, and from Naila, she just sent a note about the carob tree that is also drought resistant, which is
right.
Additional benefit. Yeah. So I'll move to our third question. It's from Mirna to Anwar. She's asking about what is the biggest challenge you are facing for the implementation of the project?
Thank you for the question. I mean, there are many challenges in this project. The biggest challenge is the reason this project ever became is being tackled actually, and that's not having a local authority. Not having a local authority means that the whole community has to be in consensus about what is to be done and how it is to be done, and if there are any operational costs that are not covered by the selling of recyclables, this means also that the community has to be in consensus on paying parts of these operating costs. And that's the most challenging thing. All the technical aspects of this project are very doable, and they have been solved over and over again. The challenge here really is getting the technical and the community aspects working together.
Thank you, Anwar. We have another question from George, and this one is addressed to Dr. Saliba or Sami. Sorry. I was wondering if you could please comment on how you see this initiative contributing to addressing some of the structural challenges in the water and solid waste management sectors in Lebanon. Some of the issues mentioned by the team, lack of regulation, policy enforcement, poor service delivery, and cost recovery, etc., seem too large or challenging to address within the scope of these projects. Dr. Saliba or Sami, if you can take the lead on this.
I'll start, but I want to start where Anwar left it, and allow me to say a few words in Arabic, because MTV is here in my house filming, and they want to capture some words in Arabic in order for them to put it on the report that they are trying to prepare. And thanks for them, they have been watching us for the whole time. So بدي أحكي شوي بالعربي، بدي أحكي شوي كيف بتبيات إنه ما عندهم بلدية بس عندهم مختار، عم يشتغلوا كلهم سوا، وسالي والتيم تبعها اللي عم بيجربوا يعملوه إنه كل ما يعملوا خطوة لقدام عم يشتغلوا مع كل الضيعة تقريباً. الشغلة الحلوة اللي بينت لما سالي عملت آخر مرة سيرفي مع الناس اللي حواليها لحتى تشوف قد ايه في الناس عم بتطلع زبالة، بلكي جاد هيدي بتعجبه كتير، انه نحن تفاجأنا انه المعدل العام اللي بيكتبوه بالكتب انه بيقولوا انه المعدل الانسان اللي بيطلع زبالة بلبنان هو بين 0.8 و1 كيلوغرام بالنهار. سالي اللي طلع معها طلع أقل من 0.6 كيلوغرام بالنهار. يعني إذا نحن منعيش مثل ما كانوا أهل الضياع أو مثل ما هلأ بعدهم أهل الضياع عم بيعيشوا، ما منطلع كتير بلاستيك وما منطلع كتير زبالة، وإذا قادرين إنه نعمل كومبوستينج للأورجانيك ويست اللي هن عم بيعملوه، معناتها في كتير أشياء مكتوبة بالكتب منا صحيحة. نحن أنور كان كتير يعني مستغرب ومتعجب ومبسوط إنه الأرقام اللي طلعت مع سالي كتير مهمة وبتضوي على قد ايه حياتنا نحن بالضياع محافظة وما بتطلع اشياء ما لها عازة. يعني كل الاشياء اللي بيستعملوها بيقدروا يعملوا لها ريسايكلينج، وهيدا الشيء لازم نبلش نفتخر فيه. بفتكر هيدي شغلة كتير مهمة. أنا بشكرها لسالي على كل اللي عم تعملوه، وإن شاء الله رح نرجع قد ما دوميك وأنور ما صدقوا اللي شافوه، طلبوا منها إنه توسع الحلقة وتعمل مرة تانية، بس قلت لها إذا هيدي الشغلة طلعت مزبوطة بدي طلعك على الإعلام وأعمل منك هيرو، لأنه شيء كتير حلو إنه نضوي على قد إيه أهلنا كانوا يعرفوا أكتر منا كيف ينتبهوا للطبيعة وكيف ما يوسخوها. أنا بحييها وبحيي كتير ناس، كل الفرقاء وكل التيمز اللي عم بيشتغلوا، وكتر خيرهم عن جد. هلا بدي انقل للانجليزي. بفتكر ألسي مفرج انبسطت انه حكينا شوي بالعربي. صار فينا نرجع. وبعتذر من الناس اللي ما بيفهموا لبناني علي. رح ارجع للانجليزي. وكمان I wanna start where Anwar left it. Yes, the question is very, very big. We know no environmental intervention is going to take a life on its own if we don't have the backup of the government. What we're trying to do is basically propose a decentralized solutions and decentralized approaches that get the most approval and consensus from the local communities, local municipalities, or local committees. And with that, we can probably overcome the actual lack of environmental regulations. Yani what we're trying to say is that the committee is going to protect the village and not the law. And probably you all can relate to this because in Lebanon, a lot of good wills and good practices come from the drive of the individuals and the society rather than from a top-down approach from the local government. And I think this is extremely, extremely important. This is what's unique about us. Maybe we acquired this over the years because of the problems, because of the lack of enforcement of regulations. So now with empowering the community with the science that the mentors are trying to use in order for them to tackle the project is basically doubling down on the efforts that the communities are doing. I think I praise and I am very grateful to all the mentors who are taking their time. They're taking the path that it needs to take in order for the project to take a life on its own. And I also praise the committees who are not in a rush to actually implement solutions. They understood that things are going to take time and the process has to follow a systematic approach.
Thank you.
If I can just add to what Dr. Saliba is saying, this is for me always blows my mind away, especially at this time of year when my grandma's traditional practices are coming into full effect. I think we're very caught in a very specific way of working on these issues, and we see a Western model as the ideal way. But we have our own ways that we've lived with this land and created, synergy between agriculture and the ecosystems. And I think it's always amazing to me to see how traditional practices already did a lot of what we need to do to have healthy communities and a healthy ecosystem. We can learn a lot from that, but of course, there's bigger challenges that are on the table that are more systematic maybe than just what's happening at each household. But again, I think with COVID-19, this crisis, one of the main things that I hope we're all learning, and governments especially, is that we really need to read how these issues are even dealt with. I think the kind of restricted top-down ways that we've tried to deal with environmental issues is proving to be a failure. And we need to really rethink. And this is what we mean by co-creation. This is what we mean by working hand in hand with those that are facing the issue. I think there is one of the most beautiful places for rethinking how it is we deal with these issues, and maybe coming up with alternatives that work very well for Lebanon. We're not just copy-pasting from some technology or procedure that happens in the West. I think we have a lot to also teach these kinds of Western models. And there is resilience in having a strong community that looks after its environment. And this is what we're trying to birth, with the Environment Academy.
Thank you, Sami, for the great last comments. I think we don't have any more questions now. So we've come to the end of the second webinar about the Environment Academy. So I just wanted
Actually,
to...
Muhammad,
Yes,
we do have few
we
questions.
just received one, yes.
Yes.
From, actually, from George, a comment, no? Thanking us for all the great support and for all the great projects and the hard work that everyone is doing, and wishing us all best of luck. Thank you, George, again for all
We
your support.
actually have comments also from Zena, and I think it joins Hint's comment, who is a mentor from the US team. Zena is asked the comment through the Facebook Live. It went through the chat. That's why maybe you missed it.
Right.
But basically, Hind was talking about possibly using carob in just like the honey in cosmetic industries. And to join that, Zena Kai Kanaan gave the example of Cyprus, which is a country that trades and profit a lot from the trade of the carob pods that are used in many industries, so worth looking into. So both of them giving the same comment about the possibility of using carob in other industries. And finally, I don't know if you missed that, but Naila, who's a mentor from the Impact Lebanon team, had a question about water waste. So that one was directed to Ain al-Kharoube. And she basically, sorry, I missed. Okay. She said, with consideration of the current COVID-19 pandemic and potential impacts on water in Lebanon, there is an issue involving drinking water and its cross-contamination from wastewater. One point that came to our attention while working on the Damour project was that turbidity and sedimentation, a common problem in drinking water systems in Lebanon, can shield and harbor bacteria and viruses. So chlorination systems are ineffective in the presence of sediments, turbidity, and do not eliminate bacteria, viruses, protozoa, etc. This makes sedimentation issues more important to solve during the current COVID-19 pandemic. And I think Karen answered briefly, but if you would like to let us all know, either you or Tarek as well, if you have any comments on Naila's comment.
Go ahead, Karen.
So we are pretty sure at this point that there is no cross-contamination with wastewater in our town. However, once we have a full profile of the water, which is the next, like I mentioned on the slides, the next big step in our project is to get a water profile at the reservoir and in the pipes. And once we know that, we will know if the contamination contains any wastewater and where the contamination is based on. However, from what we know at this point, and the fact that there is no more free chlorine that the government provides at the tap, we are pretty confident, but not 100% sure, that if chlorination is working and chlorine is being consumed, we do not have any high turbidity. The NTU is low and the water is pretty clear. So that's our only indication at this point that there is no wastewater contamination or high turbidity.
Okay,
awesome.
That answers it. And thank you, Rita, for not missing all these comments and questions.
They were all over. That's why I was trying to gather them.
Can I say a few things here?
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Muhammad. This is amazing. It's always a pleasure working with you. I just want to say that the next steps is basically we're going to go and take shots and films on the ground. So we're going to be starting to visit the villages with the MTV team. We also would like to highlight the expertise of the mentors. If you could send us a short biography with a nice picture so that we can start tweeting about it. So this is also important for us to highlight the expertise and the efforts that the mentors are putting into these projects. And last but not least, we started for some of the projects that are almost ready to hit the ground. We started actually fundraising for them. Rita has been very instrumental in helping us raise some funds for one of the projects. Actually, Sami and Anwar has been also working very hard on submitting a proposal that Rita gave us the lead for. And we really need to now start thinking about fundraising strategies in order for us to secure at least, you know, some seed money for these projects to get going, and we'll see where we go. I mean, we really this is the most important thing now. After those 2 webinars and after almost 4 months of the teams working with their mentors, probably not for two real ones.
Thank you, Dr. Saliba. And I think this will bring it to an end, the webinars, this series of webinars. So I just wanted to really say thank you for everyone. Thank you for the team members and the mentors for all the great efforts that they are putting towards this project. Thank you for MTV for being with us today. Thank you for Sami and Marwan from the AUB NCC, and for my co-moderator Rita as well. And least but not last, of course, big thank you for Dr. Saliba for being with us during these 2 webinars and for bringing this project into life. And of course, for bringing together the diaspora and the local community in Lebanon, which is an amazing opportunity for everyone. And I believe the success of these 10 teams in implementing their project around the 10 different villages and cities in Lebanon will serve as a huge catalyst for other areas to adopt such sustainable environmental solutions. And as Dr. Saliba said, now it's the time for more support and wider support from all of us, wherever we are, towards these projects, so we could see something different being implemented in Lebanon. This is probably just one example of how we can all work together as Lebanese community in Lebanon and in the diaspora towards a better and sustainable Lebanon. And of course, this is the core of our values here at Impact Lebanon. And we will stay tuned for what will come about the Environment Academy this year, and hopefully after the huge success for next year. So thank you so much for all. I don't know, Rita, if you want to say anything before.
I couldn't have said it in any better way. You've said it all. You've covered everything. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for people who registered to learn more about these villages, and for the teams themselves and the mentors, as well as the Nature Conservation Center, مغتربين مجتمعين, Impact Lebanon, everybody is working together, and this is the beauty of it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It was great seeing some of you again and again, and we're gonna keep seeing each other.
Thank you. Merci كتير. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.